Welcome back, everybody. Whenever I crack open Moby Dick, I'm just struck by how much there is to unpack in these pages. Today, we're diving into some excerpts, really getting our hands dirty with the language and the imagery.
I think that's the best way to approach Melville. He demands to be wrestled with.
Absolutely. So for those joining us with those excerpts in hand, let's start with those first impressions. The Spouter Inn, what kind of name is that for an inn anyway? Doesn't exactly scream comfort and relaxation, does it?
Well, right off the bat, Melville is pulling us into his world, a world steeped in the whaling industry. And the Spouter Inn, it's more than just a name. It's a foreshadowing of the danger and the duality that defines this novel.
Right, coffin, spouter. It's
Yeah.
like he's setting the stage for a tragedy, giving us these ominous vibes right from the get-go. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it speaks to Melville's incredible ability to weave these dark, complex themes right into the fabric of the story. Death and obsession, those are the undercurrents driving Moby Dick, and the Spouter Inn, with its evocative name, is our entry point into this world. It's like he's hinting at the risk and the potential for destruction inherent in this line of work.
It's true. And then there's that description of the painting hanging in the inn. Talk about a puzzle. This black sea in a midnight gale. The breaking up of the icebound stream of time. I mean, it's beautiful, but what does it all mean?
You hit on something crucial there. Melville often presents us with images and ideas that resist easy interpretation, much like the whale itself. This painting, I think, mirrors that. It's full of swirling chaos, this breaking up, suggestive of the immense power of nature, of forces beyond our control.
So we've got this sense of foreboding, this enigmatic painting. And then we're introduced to our narrator, Ishmael, and his unlikely companion, Queequeg.
A fascinating pair, wouldn't you say? Ishmael drawn to the sea's mysteries, and Queequeg, the tattooed harpooner, whose appearance initially repels Ishmael.
Oh, absolutely. And Melville really lingers on Ishmael's first impression of Queequeg, focusing on his hideously marred face. It's almost as if he's deliberately challenging us, the readers, to confront our own prejudices.
Precisely. He's setting the stage for one of the novel's most powerful themes, the idea that appearances can be deceiving, that true character runs deeper than skin deep. Remember that line, "You cannot hide the soul." It's a powerful testament to Queequeg's inherent goodness, a goodness that shines through despite his intimidating exterior.
And it makes you realize how quick we are to judge based on first impressions, doesn't it?
It does, and it speaks to Melville's genius that he can take these complex themes of prejudice and acceptance, of seeing beyond the surface, and weave them into this captivating narrative. It's what makes Moby Dick so much more than just a whaling adventure.
I completely agree. These characters, they're not just two-dimensional figures, are they? They're grappling with ambition, with faith, with their own mortality. And these themes, they're all introduced within the first few chapters. It's interesting how quickly we go from these almost peaceful, contemplative moments with Ishmael and Queequeg to the raw, unbridled energy of Captain Ahab.
There's no mistaking Ahab's presence, is there? He commands attention from the moment he steps onto the deck.
Absolutely. And he's got this one thing on his mind, this obsession that just seems to consume him. It's more than just wanting to catch a whale, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is about revenge. Ahab versus Moby Dick, a battle of wills between man and this almost mythical creature.
And you get the sense that this has been brewing inside Ahab for years. For 40 years has Ahab been on the pitiless sea, he says. 40 years. That's a long time to carry that kind of anger and resentment.
It speaks to the depths of his obsession, doesn't it? Moby Dick isn't just some whale to Ahab. He's a symbol of everything that's wrong in the world, everything that's ever hurt him. And Ahab, he's determined to settle the score.
It's like Moby Dick represents some kind of unconquerable force, something Ahab refuses to accept.
And that's where the tragedy lies, right? In Ahab's refusal to acknowledge the limits of human power, he's challenging the natural order of things, and as we know, that never ends well.
It's interesting you say that because there's definitely a sense of the supernatural surrounding Moby Dick, wouldn't you say? I mean, he's not just any whale. He's this massive white whale.
The symbolism of whiteness is crucial here. On one hand, white represents purity, innocence, even divinity, but in the context of Moby Dick, it takes on a more sinister meaning.
It's like that moment when Ishmael compares Moby Dick to the pale horse for the Book of Revelation. There's a sense of awe, but also a primal fear, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. White, in its blankness, becomes a canvas onto which we project our own fears and desires. It becomes the unknown, the unknowable. And that's terrifying, especially when you're facing something as powerful and as unpredictable as Moby Dick.
So Ahab, he's not just chasing a whale. He's chasing something he can never truly understand or control.
And that's the heart of his tragedy. He's seeking revenge against a force that operates outside the realm of human morality. It's like trying to reason with a hurricane.
And Melville doesn't shy away from foreshadowing the disaster that awaits. That chilling encounter Ahab has with the one-armed captain is enough to send shivers down your spine.
A stark reminder of Moby Dick's power, isn't it? And then there's Ahab's new ivory leg, a constant physical reminder of the price of his obsession. It's like he's becoming more and more consumed by the very creature he's chasing.
It's almost as if by seeking to destroy Moby Dick, Ahab is actually destroying himself.
Mm.
But it's not all doom and gloom on the Pequod, is it? There are moments of humor, of camaraderie, even amidst the growing tension.
Absolutely. We have characters like Stubb, the second mate, who seems to find humor in even the most dire situations.
Remember that line, "I am Stubb and Stubb has his history." But here Stubb takes oath that he has always been jolly. I mean, how can you not crack a smile at that?
It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the human spirit can find ways to endure, to find moments of joy and connection. And those moments, they make the tragedy all the more poignant, don't they?
They do. It's that constant push and pull between hope and despair, between the beauty and the brutality of life at sea, that makes Moby Dick such a powerful and enduring work of art. You know, it's one thing to read about Ahab's obsession, but it's another thing entirely to feel it jumping off the page.
Melville had this incredible ability to make you feel like you were right there on the Pequod, feeling the spray of the sea, the tension in the air.
Absolutely. You can practically taste the salt on your lips, and you start to understand how someone could get so caught up in this pursuit, this hunt for something so much bigger than themselves.
It's like Ahab's madness becomes contagious in a way. You find yourself getting swept up in his fervor, even as you recognize the folly of his quest.
And that's where Melville's genius lies, doesn't it? He makes you confront these uncomfortable truths about human nature, that sometimes our greatest strengths can also be our most dangerous flaws.
It makes you think about Starbuck, doesn't it? That poor first mate. He sees the danger. He knows Ahab's heading down a dark path, but he's bound by duty, by loyalty.
Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. He's trying to reason with Ahab to appeal to his sense of humanity, but Ahab's too far gone.
Starbuck, I think, represents that voice of conscience, that nagging doubt that we all feel when we're faced with a difficult choice. He's grappling with the same moral dilemmas that we, as readers, are forced to confront.
And that's what makes Moby Dick such a timeless work. Those questions of duty, of morality, of the consequences of our actions, they're just as relevant today as they were back then.
Absolutely. We may not be hunting whales, but we all face those moments when we have to decide what we're willing to sacrifice in pursuit of our goals. What lines are we willing to cross, and at what cost?
It's easy to judge Ahab from a distance, to say, oh, I would never be so foolish, but Melville forces us to ask ourselves, would we really?
Moby Dick isn't just a story about a whale, is it? It's a mirror reflecting our own capacity for both good and evil. It's a cautionary tale, but it's also a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit.
It's a novel that stays with you long after you've finished the last page, and it leaves you pondering life's big questions.
It certainly does, and it's one that I find myself coming back to again and again, always discovering something new within its depths.
And that's the beauty of great literature, isn't it? It sparks these conversations, these reflections on the human condition that transcend time and place.
I couldn't agree more. It's why we keep returning to these classics, why they continue to resonate with readers across generations.
Well, I think we've barely scratched the surface of Moby Dick today, but hopefully this deep dive has given our listeners a few new insights, a new perspective on this epic tale.
And perhaps it sparked a desire to dive back into those pages, to rediscover the magic and the mayhem that is Moby Dick.
Until next time, happy reading, everyone.